Okay, so I always start off with the health spoke here, nutrition and exercise and diet. And what we expect is to hear how much, guac and burritos you eat every day, right? Does that fit in the diet? Or I did think about that. Or, people say, oh, you still really enjoy that. Or you say, you know what? I can't stand the smell of a burrito. Where does it stand for you?
I never got sick of Chipotle actually. And, while I worked there, I was in restaurants all the time. I was in Chipotle restaurants all the time while I worked at Chipotle. And I'd eat those burritos or bowl. I went over to bowls, but I ate bowls every day. I got rid of burritos because it was like, okay, when you eat that many, that's a lot of tortillas, and the tortillas high calorie,
Yeah. Great.
And high carb. So, but I went over to bowls and I never got tired of them.
Well, so tell us about that nutrition side. I mean, nutrition, everybody's looking at the latest, fads and diets and techniques out there on nutrition. Anything specifically that you adhere to for your personal nutrition?
I guess kind of, but let me quote someone who I think summed it up so brilliantly. And it's Michael Pollan.
My audience knows Michael Pollan. He's one of my favorites.
Okay, cool.
I've given away cases of food rules.
Oh yeah. Okay. So in his book, Omnivore's Dilemma, yeah. I think that was the one he wrote this in, or maybe it was In Defense of Food. One of those two. He wrote, eat food, not too much, mostly plants. And I'm pretty sure that's an exact.
No, that's on that's on the cover of
It's
Food
the
Rules.
First three sentences of, I think it's maybe In Defense of Food. I think it's the first three sentences. Eat food, period. Mostly plants. Period. No, I'm sorry. Not too much. Period. Mostly plants.
Yeah.
If I've got it wrong, then forgive me. But I don't.
Those are the three. No, you nailed it.
Yeah. And I haven't read that book in 20 years. Well, since when it came out, I read it then, and I haven't read it. Maybe I've glanced at it since. But anyway, but it means more than that. By eat food, he meant something that is would be recognizable as food by your grandmother, I think he said. And by now, let's just add great grandmother. Let's say great grandmother, because another generation might have gone by since I read the book.
Yeah.
So eat food, meaning something that your great grandmother would know was food, and they wouldn't know most of what's in the grocery store is food. They wouldn't know, what a Hot Pocket is, or I'm not trying to ding Hot Pockets, but I mean, like
they wouldn't know the ingredients in those. You can't pronounce.
They wouldn't know the ingredients. They can't pronounce. Okay. So eat food, not too much. Okay. It's like, hey, we tend to eat too much. We're a very affluent country. Food has gotten way cheaper compared to our incomes over the years since our grandparents were on Earth. We in the United States spend correspondingly less on food than almost any other country and almost any time in history as a percentage of our income.
Yeah.
So spend more of your percentage of your income on better food, the actual food. And then when it says mostly plants, I mean, he doesn't mean grains when he says plants.
Yeah.
He means plants. Plants, not grains. And so, but yet there's this huge push towards grains. And we have the food pyramid we grew up with. We were taught the food pyramid. The food pyramid is bullshit.
Yeah.
It is not true. It is wrong. It will lead to unhealthfulness. And it's too bad that our government has foisted that on people, but it's because there's a great deal of lobbying by hugely powerful organizations. And, we eat too much grain. We eat too much sugars. We eat too much processed stuff. And we need to eat, basically we need to eat in a much more balanced way. And so I just happen to really like vegetables, and I happen to like, I like meat or high protein stuff. Yeah. And so I eat a lot of vegetables and meat, and it's been great for me. And, I eat some grain. I'm not anti-grain. I just don't think that foods that are predominantly grain make me feel very good personally. Yeah. And as a result, I've enjoyed, like I said, my 55th birthday today, and I'm really healthy, and I'm really grateful to be in a body that's comfortable and that does stuff, and I can go run and swim and bike and leap and water ski and whatever. Yeah. And it keeps working. That's a blessing. And so I'm trying to keep that blessing going for as long as I can.
Amen. Amen. And again, happy birthday and healthy birthday. It's interesting. We have people bring lunch into the office fairly frequently, and they know that we're kind of on the healthier side. And so Chipotle will happen once in a while. The only thing is, and I get a bowl, but I know I'm going to overeat. I still have a hard time not eating all that's on my plate. I'm a good American boy, and you got to do that or people will starve. And so I know on the Chipotle day, I'm going to overeat because, oh my gosh, it's still so much food.
It is a lot of food.
A big old portion. Okay. Well, you look like a fit guy as well, and living in Colorado, I think you kind of have to be. So what about on the exercise side? Anything you do there?
Yeah. I mean, I swim a lot, so I usually get up in the morning and I go swim a mile. And lately I've been trying to I kind of never gotten any faster. I've just swum. I go swim a mile and I just swim, but lately I'm actually trying to speed up a little bit. I think maybe I'm inspired by my wife, who she's younger than me, and I basically taught her how to swim the front crawl. She already swam breaststroke and she could go forever, but she didn't even know how to swim the crawl, the freestyle. And so I taught her that. Now she's getting like really good, like kind of like was going to pass me and be better than me soon. And I guess that kind of engages my ego a little bit and competitiveness. And so I'm trying to go a little faster now because I don't want to be outdone. But anyway, swimming is great. I also run. I think running is it's one of these exercises that's so good, so easy. You can do it with nothing but a pair of shoes, and you can do it right now, and it doesn't take very long, right? I love cycling, but to get a good exercise on a bicycle, you got to be on it for a while usually, unless you go do hill climbing or something, but that's just hard. But if you want to go out and and go spin 50 miles, it takes hours, and you don't always have hours. So running, you go out and run 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes is always a good workout. Any run is a hard run. So I run and I swim mostly. And, but I'm active in a lot of other sports as well.
So relationships is the next area. And for folks listening, our first show together, that's what we spent the entire time. I think an hour and 50 minutes talking about relationships. And so I'll answer for you. How's that? At least part of it, because you taught me in there. I mean, a primary thing you do for your relational health in general is that humility that we came to, putting other people first, making them their interest ahead of your interest is a key thing. How do you do that even in your personal lives? I mean, it's one thing to do it out there and work with an employee, but how are you employing that with friends, family, and the more intimate relationships as well?
Yeah. I mean, I just, I guess it's not that I wake up every day and even decide I'm going to put other people first. It's not that overt. Where it comes from with me is that I have learned that, and so I'll say I come at it more selfishly. How about that? That'll make it more relatable because I think we all know that deep inside we're selfish. We want something that's good for us. Yeah. Well, I find that I'm just at my best and at my happiest when the people around me feel good. And I'm also a really perceptive person, for better or for worse, because I tend to, like, if somebody comes in and they're in a bad mood, I feel it. If somebody comes in and they're mad, I feel it. Certainly, I mean, that's just even with strangers. Okay. But certainly with anyone who's like related to me or I'm in a more intimate relationship with, like my wife or, anyone in my family, right. When they come in and they're in a bad mood, I feel it, and I think most of us would say we do. We know when someone's hurting or upset or angry or in one of those moods that's not quite as comfortable to deal with. And I am just always very curious I always want to be a source of helping others feel at their best. And you could say it's selfish. I feel better when they feel better.
Sure.
And so since I don't feel very good when they don't feel good, when someone around me doesn't feel good, stranger, friend, or brother or child or wife, any relationship with me, when someone is around me and doesn't feel good, I have this yearning to want to help them feel good. And that's not because I'm a good Christian. That's not because I'm a nice guy. It's because it makes me feel better when they feel better. And I've learned that by trying to help them feel better or by showing an interest in them when they're hurting or not feeling well, just showing that interest, just caring, just taking that one step of caring tends to make people feel a lot better. I said to you in our last show that I have this thing I keep saying that all of us want in life. And I say this in the docuseries, and I think it's very proven in the docuseries, Connected, that all of us want to be seen, valued, loved, and understood. All of us want that. All of us feel best when we feel valuable, when we feel that people understand us, when we feel loved, and then we can, of course, in turn, we feel loving of others. Well, the thing that makes me feel most seen, valued, loved, and understood is when the people around me are at their best and feel good and are happy. And I learned as a very young person that just directing our attention, our awareness, our concern, and our desire and our curiosity, our desire to understand someone else, just by directing that energy at someone, right away, it makes a difference to them. Right away, it ignites, it relaxes them. It causes them to feel important. It causes them to be our teacher. If we start asking them questions, they need to answer those questions. And then all of a sudden they're in a position of providing us information. Almost anyone in the world, almost anywhere in the world, no matter how busy, no matter how angry they are, if you say, "Hey, sir, what time is it?" They're not going to say, "Get your own watch."
Yeah.
They're going to say, "Oh, it's 2:45," and they're going to run off if they're busy. But they're going to stop and answer that question. Why? People generally have an innate desire to be of use to others, to provide information, to provide guidance, care, or at least to answer a question. So that makes people feel good to give of themselves. That's a very simple little tiny example. What time is it? And give the time. But when you give the time, you're providing information. You're doing something for someone else, even if it's a very small thing. Well, the truth is people actually want to do even more for other people if they can, and if they feel like they can be of use, and if they feel like they can be helpful. And I guess what I'm here to say is that I've learned all of us can be not just helpful to others, but immensely helpful to others, no matter what education we have, no matter what knowledge we have, no matter what experience we have, no matter what degrees or positions of high rank we hold, just by creating a moment of presence with someone where you turn to them, look at them, and care enough to even notice that perhaps they're not having a great day. And as soon as you notice someone's not, hey, Kevin, how are you doing today? Oh, pretty good, Monty, pretty good. Wow, Kevin, I know you said pretty good, but it doesn't sound like you're pretty good to me. Are you sure you're okay? You seem a little off today. Oh, well, actually, Monty, now that you mention it, I hit a squirrel on the way to work and I just feel bad about it. Oh, shit. Yeah, damn, I'm sorry. And then what can you demonstrate? As soon as I ask you, don't bullshit me about being okay today, Kevin. Something's not okay. I know you're not at your best. Then you can then share with me. Well, actually, I'm not at my best because I hit a squirrel on the way to work. I feel bad. And then what can I give you in return? What can anyone give you without any skill or experience? Compassion. Yeah. Oh shit. I know how you feel. I got it. I did the same thing once. I hit a cat when I was a kid. Whatever. All right, whatever. I had to, God, I'm sorry. That sucks. I can see why you're, and then I give you compassion in exchange for which you feel loved, in exchange for which you feel forgiven by me, and are able to forgive yourself, and you're able to forgive the moment, and all of a sudden you feel a little bit better. So it's just that simple. And anyone can do it.
And I appreciate that you brought it back to, not brought it back, but that you cashed it with self-interest. I'm a fan, kind of a spiritual writer, Anthony DeMello, and he has this big section on how we are all self-interested. It feels so empowering to me to look at it. And it's not just some altruistic, holier thing.
I wrote a whole paper when I was a kid. I wrote a whole paper in college that was titled, I forgot the title. It was like, doing good without the need for altruism. I actually that was a big, for my final paper in one of my classes. And because this idea of altruism bothers me and offends me. Actually offends me. Why? Probably because as a kid, I knew I was selfish. Yeah. And I was like, well, altruism? Are there people like, do I suck that bad that I want a good life? Do I suck that bad that I want the
church thing? Be selfless, die to self.
Yeah, be selfless.
I can't do that. Yeah.
And so I would say, don't be selfless. Be intelligently selfish. Okay. And if each of us on this world is intelligently selfish, okay, let me describe what that looks like. It is selfish for me, Monty Moran, to want you to feel better in my presence. It is selfish for me to want the world to be an awesome, abundant place of beauty and abundance and cleanliness and respect. It is in my selfish best interest that the United States be a country filled with people who are fulfilled, happy, and have wonderful jobs and careers and have great health benefits. And that's good for me because I'll also be one of those people in the United States. Yeah. In other words, long story short, it is in my own selfish best interest that everyone else in the world is doing well, is happy, is fulfilled, is able to eat, because that means there'll be more peace in the world. That means that I can partake in. There'll be more peace in the world that I selfishly can partake in. Yeah. There'll be more happiness in the world and joy in the world that I can partake in. There'll be less crises in the world that I have to solve or help solve. Let's not talk about being selfless because that's just not biologically very real, in my opinion.
Agreed.
But you can be tremendously concerned about others, and you can want to see them at their best, and you can even feel the sense of fulfillment for having been a catalyst in their well-being, for having been a catalyst in them having a better day, for having been some small reason why they're a bit of a happier person, maybe even. That feels great. What could be more selfish than wanting to feel great? And if that makes you feel great, you'll do more of it. And if you do more of it, guess what? You are then a positive, powerful force in this world without having to ever be unselfish. You can be perfectly selfish. Just be smart selfish.
Thanks.
Stupid. A lot of people are stupid. They're selfish in a stupid way of saying, I want the money. I want the power. I want the glory. I don't want my team to get the glory. I don't want my team to get the power. And guess where they end up? Miserable, unfulfilled, and generally not powerful. Although there are certainly some people who have obtained positions of great power in ways that were probably unseemly.
Well,
but
yeah,
it's not
great
the norm.
success, power, but not, as you brought up so many times, not core fulfillment.
No, and not lasting power.
Yeah.
Not even lasting power. They won't have a lasting, positively powerful influence on the world.
Yeah. Well, so much of what you said there goes into the next spoke here, which is mental. And, so two things, actually with you, I'm going to ask it in two ways. One, what do you do just for your own, well, I'll just start there, just for your own mental wellness, your own mental health, your own mental state, any specific habits there?
Yes. Well, it's funny. I never thought of them as habits until recently. I realized I do them every day. So I guess they're habits now.
That qualifies. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
Right. So, I mean, every morning when I wake up, I tend to wake up not feeling great. I tend to wake up feeling like, I guess the best way to describe it is sort of the weight of the world is on my shoulders. I wake up feeling like a bit of a failure. I wake up feeling like I'm not doing enough. I wake up with all these sort of busy, kind of negative thoughts in my mind. And what I did for a lot of years, which was highly ineffective, is I'd wake up and be like, why am I beating myself up? What I woke up is that I woke up with these kind of negative feelings and then spent a bunch of time rejecting them. So I was taking something negative and then being negative towards it. So negative times negative, it turns out, equals really negative. And so what I've learned to do recently is I wake up, I feel those feelings like, oh, wow, interesting. Let me just be nice to those feelings. Let me hold those feelings like I'd hold a baby child, maybe, or a puppy. Maybe you hold the puppy, you stroke its head, you kind of cuddle it under its chin and you scritch its belly and it kind of go, oh, and it turns around. So I try to hold with love, patience, and presence those quote unquote negative feelings I'm feeling, those feelings of self-doubt, those feelings of I'm not good enough, or those feelings of failure. And I feel lots of those feelings. But if I wake up and just feel them and let them be, don't try to get rid of them. Trying to get rid of them didn't work, by the way. I tried it my whole life. I'm 55 now. It didn't work. Yeah. But if I just give them patience and allow them, and then I can turn the volume up on that thought and even try to be grateful for them. Oh, these feelings are just some form of ambition. These feelings are just some desire to be active. These feelings are just some fuel in me to try to help me get up and maybe have a useful day. These are okay. These aren't bad. I'm used to these are old friends, these feelings. So by making friends with these feelings, that's the habit I start the day with. And I wouldn't have told the story, except that I know a lot of people wake up with some negativity, with some feelings of being inadequate or you're insecure, or, oh gosh, I've got a presentation today. I hope I don't suck. I don't want to be embarrassed, or God, it's going to be a hard day. A lot of us wake up with, I guess, some sort of foreboding feeling about the day to come. And then, what I've learned is that my days don't tend to be negative at all. I get going and they're fun and they're exciting and they're enriching, and I'm delighted and grateful. But for some reason in the morning, a lot of times the first feelings I feel are kind of negative. And now I've tried to become friends with those negative feelings and just be loving towards them. Just like if a child cries and is feeling negatively, you don't go and slap the child to try to make it feel better. You pick up the child and hold the child. If any animal is in distress, you show kindness and love and compassion towards that animal. But towards ourselves, we tend not to. Yeah. When we're in distress, we're like, why am I so wimpy? Why don't I just get my shit together? I don't have anything to complain about. I mean, I got 4 limbs and I'm strong and capable and I'm not in pain today. When we're aggressive towards ourselves, even though we tend to be better at being kind to others. So it's about being maybe kind to ourselves. That's
I was going to say, it sounds like a great depiction of self-compassion, which is a highlight term for me, because I tend to not have it for myself. And if I don't, it's really hard to give it off to others. And you talked about that so many people wake with foreboding. That was one little piece I wanted to hit on in having you here, in the fact, again, in our first show, you talked about the 25,000 people that you sat with at Chipotle and interacted with, that as we are in this kind, I know you've been out of it for 4 years, at least with Chipotle, but that even then we're in a place right now where the mental health of our culture, specifically, in America, is on such a decline right now, that I know that employers, especially in the corporate world where you're dealing with thousands, tens of thousands of employees, that you're seeing the effect of that, whatever that may be, waking with foreboding, that sense of hopelessness mental aspect is, it's got to be a bigger and bigger thing for business at large today.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it really has to be. And I think that it's funny. I just said that the habit I've developed to try to ease myself into the day in a positive way is to sort of mentally hold my own troubles in a kind and accepting way. Even perhaps having gratitude for those feelings. I think this is what we need to do in our larger organizations as well, is approach things with concern and care and love and kindness. And again, and like I said in the last show, that doesn't mean it's always comfortable. That doesn't mean it's not with discipline. That doesn't mean it's not with hard work. In fact, hard work, struggle, and discipline, to me, are extraordinarily important aspects of life that cause people to grow into much more powerfully positive people and forces in the world. And I think in our modern society, we do too much to baby people, way too much. We do way too much. Oh, you're offended. Oh my gosh, we got to change everything because you're offended. It's like, no. If you're offended, it's okay. You're offended. Being offended is okay. you're having to work really hard at your job. Oh my gosh, you're having to work hard. I'm so sorry. No, you're having to work hard. Good. Working hard is okay. Working hard builds character. Working hard builds beautiful things. Working hard builds, wisdom and intelligence. Working hard is good. So I think a lot of the things that we might think of as negative, we should accept them as positive. Things like struggle, things like hard work, things like, having to earn a living, these things are good. These things make you a better, more fulfilled, happier person, not a miserable person. Yeah. Even if on any given day, you might be like, oh my God, I don't want to go to work today. Well, it's okay to not want something and still have to do it. That's okay. That's actually good. and if we all got what we wanted in every moment, we'd be a bunch of miserable, lazy folks.
Yeah. Yes. So you mentioned
and also we don't know what we want. We also don't know what we want. We don't know what we want. If I had said to you, and knowing nothing about Kevin, knowing nothing about your wife or your personal life, relationship wise, if I would have said to you when you were 5 years old, Kevin, I want you to write on this piece of paper what you want your wife to be like. And I'm going to give you that wife when you're 25. And you'd written it down, it wouldn't be who you're with now. And you're probably glad it isn't, because you wouldn't know what you want. You wouldn't know what fits you. You wouldn't know what would be good for you. I mean, God only knows that. You don't.
I just envision myself saying someone who will make me sandwiches.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Maybe you just have so many damn sandwiches.
Which I'm still not against. Like my wife hears this. I'm still good with that one.
Yeah, right.
No, I appreciate that. You're totally right. So next one, you talk about working, earning a living. How about financial? Just any hallmark financial habits?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, I've always lived within my means. I've always tried not to, not spend anything near what I earn. And that's been really fulfilling. So I try to have enough left over. I've always tried to have enough left over to where if one of my biggest assets broke, I could fix it. So when I was 16 and I first bought a car, if the car was broken, I wanted to have enough money to fix it. And so if I had an extra $400 or $500 in the bank when I bought my first car, I paid $4,000. My parents paid half. They paid $2,000. I paid $2,000, and I saved up a long time for that $2,000. But actually, I had a little bit more than $2,000 when I bought the $4,000 car because I wanted to have enough to fix it if it broke. And I did have just enough to fix it if it broke. And sometimes I didn't quite have enough and I had to work a little longer. Yeah. But so I just try to live within my means. I think that's really important and also feels better. But also financially, I think just having a general awareness that stuff doesn't usually make us happier is a really powerful tool. Stuff we buy doesn't really make us happier, like at all. So kind of realizing that, rent before you buy, that kind of thing, or borrow someone else's bike for 3 days to see if you really want the $8,000 mountain bike. Borrow theirs for 3 days and see if it's that much better than your $300 used mountain bike.
You just gave yourself away that you live in Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah, right.
Most people don't realize that a decent mountain bike is $8,000. Yeah.
They're 8, 9, 10. I just learned this. Yeah. It's funny because they used to be, when I last checked, I bought my mountain bike and literally I've still got it and it's my mountain bike in the garage. I bought it 2 years ago, used then for $100, and it's still my mountain bike. It's this old Univega. It's like tall and fits me.
I know the brand, man.
Yeah,
I know.
Univega. I mean, do they even make
Yeah.
those? I mean, I don't even know if that's a company.
It's probably worth some. It's that old. Literally, I bet it's worth something because
Yeah,
it's
maybe
old classic or something like that.
Yeah, and then I got this racing bike I bought used a long time ago called a Colnago, but that's actually kind of a hot ticket bike, a Colnago.
No, that's a good Italian.
Yeah, but
right
to steal
there.
for, and you know what? I figured I'll get a new bike as soon as I'm better than that bike. Like it's holding me back. Well, they've never held me back. I'm the one who's, I get on bike enough, and I'm not in good enough shape to say that it's the bike's fault. Now that being said, a friend of mine recently had me demo a Yeti, like this really badass. It was like $9,000. And if I demoed it, and it was $9,000. And if I wanted it, couldn't have it anyway until next year. They're not in stock because everyone, I guess, when the government throws trillions at the country, everyone goes and buys a hot mountain bike, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, they're out of stock and they can't make enough of them. But anyway, I demoed this bike for 2 days. Wow, that's quite a bike. But I missed the part where, like, when I bought mine for 100, I missed the part where they were 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000. They just jump right to 8,000. I'm not saying all mountain bikes are that, but I was shocked to find out you can even spend that much on one.
Yeah. Well, I can't say much there. So I'm like that too. I'm not going to get something new until what I got breaks, and the dumb thing wouldn't break. So I had my 2002 giant team bike. But then God bless Cannondale. They came along and did a big promotion on my show and whatever. And so I'm the guy on the $8,000 mountain bike. I got to admit, they're
awesome. They are awesome. I mean, awesome. What people can do and build these days is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is impressive. All right. Well, spiritual. And we talked about that in the first show a bit, that you are I don't know if I can say a spiritual guy. I think that's a term kind of like we talked about with love. Spiritual now is just everybody uses it in every which way, but you have a component to your life. Tell me about your habits, perspectives there.
I guess I would say that I'm a very spiritual person. But yet that I say that term without, I don't try to put some extraordinary definition on what that means for me. In other words, I was brought up Christian, and I still am Christian. But I'm not Christian to the exclusion of being Buddhist. And I've studied a lot of Buddhism. And I find that it's unbelievably helpful and useful and an incredibly powerful and rich philosophy. And I've studied Zen, and I've studied other religions. And I just gobble up. It's the thing I'm most fascinated by, is the idea of developing a relationship with something greater than ourselves, and coming to a place of genuine awareness as a human being, where we can live as fully as possible in this world. And like I said to you in the last show, I've come to believe, after extraordinary amounts of analysis and thought, that love, truth, and God are the same thing. So I guess my goal in life is to live a life of truth. That is to say, I want to understand what the truth is. I'm very curious. I want to know what's actually true. I want to know what's actually authentic. I find that things that are inauthentic or ingenuine are very repulsive to me. I don't like things like that. When people aren't being their true self, it bothers me, and I want to get to the bottom of why they're acting that way. When I see someone, a public figure, acting in a way that I think isn't genuine or is not really how they feel, it bothers me. Conversely, when I see someone who's just being their authentic, true self, it's refreshing to me, like a wave of water over me. I love it, seeing people just be who they are and be honest and try to seek the truth. So the truth is sort of what I seek in life. And I find that every time that I've gotten the closer I get to the truth and really understanding the truth, the more I understand that truth is love, that truth is something incredibly positive, that truth is abundant and fulfilling and enriching and powerful and wonderful and filled with joyousness and goodness, and I equate that with love, and I also believe that that to the extent that no matter who you define God to be, God is love. Because what is God if God isn't some higher being that is good and wants to promote goodness and truth and clarity and all those things. So I think truth, love, and God are the same thing. I think you can interchange the words in any sense of God. You can put the word love and put the word truth in, and it probably always be correct.
I think you'll appreciate. I was talking with Donald Miller not long ago. He's the author and business leader, and he talked about his spirituality. He says, had some issues with Christianity. Now I grew up in that, but I still identify very much with Christianity. I thought that's a good way to put it.
And to me, I would just say, to be blunt, I think that religions can be a great deal of trouble for the world. Religions tend to be highly hypocritical. People who identify as being, I am religious, a lot of times justify sort of unsavory actions by saying, oh, I pray to God, God forgave me, and now I move on. I think sometimes religions can create disharmony in the world. Yeah. But I think that the fundamental, like for instance, take Christianity. I think if you look at Jesus's words in the Bible and you just find out what Jesus said, I mean, it's good stuff. I mean, I don't even care if you're, not a Christian at all, or even an atheist. Just read what Jesus said. It's good shit, so to speak. I mean, it's really good stuff. And so I think that a good friend I actually mentioned in the last show, he died recently, but Doug Coe, he was an interesting guy because he's thought of as being this incredibly Christian guy. And he said, I'm not a Christian. I'm not religious. I just love Jesus. That's what he said. And he had taken all of what Jesus said out of the Bible, and he just knew every single thing that Jesus ever said. And he used that to guide his life. Well, you could do worse. It's wonderful principles. But I think likewise, a life of searching and seeking the truth for yourself and really finding what the truth means to you and continue to ask questions and be curious. Sometimes I would say the churches I went to as a kid sometimes were a little, I would say, anti-curiosity. They're like, just have faith, trust, just have faith. Don't seek, just trust me. This is what you need. This is what God said. Well, that's hogwash. I mean, we are built with these powerful brains, and we are curious, and we should be as curious as possible. And we should go find out things for ourselves and learn them for ourselves. And I think that is something that, a philosophy like Buddhism, you could say religion or philosophy, your choice, but something like Buddhism or Zen. I mean, these are philosophies that really promote curiosity and learning things for yourself. And that's important too, I think.
Agreed. Career is the next one. And, that's always an odd one to ask people I have on the show, because they have often had a lot of success. They've done various things, but I still see you've got so many opportunities put before you. I'm sure just it's endless what you get that's exciting, that's good, but that you got to have some boundaries around. What are some of your, let's just call them vocational habits?
It's funny. Okay. Here's the biggest habit. And it has to do with what you just said about boundaries. Here's the biggest habit. I don't see career as different than life. So I don't believe in work-life balance. I don't even know what it means. I think it is a daft concept. I think I use the word daft in my book. It is a stupid concept, work-life balance. Now, does that mean I think people should work themselves to the grind? No, I think people should just live. Okay. And when you live, you might become, hopefully just by living, you'll become curious. And when you become curious, you'll ask questions. And if you ask questions, you'll be wanting to see how you can be of service and of value in this world. And that will lead you to probably work. And as you work, you'll see that you are good at some things. And as you do those things you're good at, you'll probably feel fulfilled. Like, hey man, I'm doing something well that's helping people. Maybe you're building a product that helps people. Maybe you're providing a service that helps people. But when you do that, build that product or provide that service, you're going to feel good doing it. And the better you get doing it, the better you'll feel, because you're providing something to others. You're helping others be at their best. And that feels good. And so when that feels really good, you'll do it with all your heart and soul. And I don't know what about my life is career. And I don't know what about my life is personal. I mean, when I interviewed those 25,000 people at Chipotle, I loved them. I wasn't sitting at the table going, yep, I'm working, looking at my watch. Yep, I'll get off about 8 p.m. But no, I was just talking to incredible people and loving them. And it happened to be incredibly powerful towards helping me run Chipotle in a skillful way. Likewise, when I was flying on a jet across the country to go to an analyst meeting with my fellow officers, we were having fun. We were talking about how to make the business better, but we were also joking and laughing and cracking each other up. I mean, was it work? I guess. Was it personal? Yes. Was it really fun? Super fun. Was it enriching? Yes. Would I do it for free? You bet I would. And in my, let's say in my personal life, let's say it's me and my wife talking, before we go to bed, just kind of facing each other talking. What are we talking about? A lot of times I'm talking about stuff you'd call work. Like, hey man, I've got the speech coming up. I really want to be helpful. I want to really impart something that can help people with their lives, but I'm feeling insecure about it. And she might say, well, how about this? How about that? We'll talk about it. It's work. So was I working with my wife, looking at her, talking in the bedroom at night? I guess. you know? So with me, career and personal life have never been separate, you know? When I raise my kids, sometimes I'm talking about the jobs they're trying to get. Sometimes I'm talking about my job, sometimes, but we're always talking about something to make our lives better. We're always talking about, we're always trying to promote joy, promote goodness, promote well-being of each other and the world. And to me, a life well lived, I suppose, is a life where, you know, one's work is one's life and one's life is one's work. And the two blur immensely, because I've never had anything in my life as fulfilling as my work, but my work has included my family, my friends, and then the people I've worked with have become dear friends who I love dearly. So to me, it's all just a big blurred thing. And that's why the idea of work-life balance is, oh, brother. Now, I understand there are some jobs where they might be a bit more, 9 to 5 and, and maybe a bit more repetitive and might seem dull. But even then, I think there's an opportunity to bring enthusiasm, to bring a desire to help the people around you, to try to make it more fun, and to make it more enriching in some way. And hopefully make it feel more like it's a part of your life that you welcome, as opposed to a part of your life that you loathe.
Obviously that's possible. There's some guy named Monty who did that with a really, really big restaurant company. So yeah, go read the book, folks. Personal is the last one. And that is one that you can put under self-care. I tend to come at it for the things that you do just for you, whether you call it play or fun or hobbies or interests, but the things that are just your personal pleasures, you could even say.
Wow. It's kind of everything I've mentioned. It's funny. It's going for a swim in the morning. It's chatting with my friends. Here's one. I became a pilot since I retired.
Oh, I know that from the show.
Yeah. I became a pilot, and then I got my instrument rating, and I got this really beautiful airplane, which is called a TBM. And it's a single engine turboprop. So it's got a propeller, but it's got a turbine engine, and it is a blast. And I love flying that thing. And I'm almost always, I don't usually fly it just to go around in circles, because I just don't end up doing that. I usually fly it to go somewhere, but I love getting on that plane and flying somewhere. I love looking down on this country and just seeing the vast beauty of the landscape, of the mountains, of streams, rivers, oceans. I love flying over it and being in this sort of aloof place where you're not in any given place, but you just have this broad perspective. I love that I feel my phone's not ringing. I love that I get some mental space at that moment. I love that I get to just kind of feel my thoughts gently interact with my observations of this incredible place we live, and that's something that I feel is, maybe a bit more that I do sort of just for me. Now, the reality is a lot of times I'm taking people, friends, places, family places, we're going somewhere together, and that's wonderful too. But I'd say that's one of my all-time favorite things is just the freedom of living in a country where I'm allowed to get an airplane and fly it and take people places and look at this land and appreciate it from that perspective. I think it's just, it helps me to be so incredibly grateful for living in what I believe is an incredibly special country in an incredibly special world.
Yeah. You just explained mountain biking for me. That's where
I go
off
that's
into
another
the
way.
Woods and do it, man. Thank you. Thanks for the behind the scenes one, but also just some great commentary on these, super important areas of life, man. It has been a gift.
Kevin, thank you. That's really nice of you to say. And I've enjoyed so much talking to you. I like you say about work and personal, this has just been really fun. So I hope it's useful for people. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. And I thank you so much for your interest in what I've been up to.
Yes.